That investment's going to pay you for a very, very long time. Facebook groups, because it's completely free and it's highly targeted. People that are in there are typically people that are homeowners. You need to be posting like your actual team, your face, before and after transformations of whatever your service is, customer testimonials. Nobody trusts internet marketers, so you need to find a way to build trust. So when you go on our website, you're going to see a video sales letter on there of me, and I'm going to introduce you who I am, our story, share you social proof of results that we've generated clients, talk about our process, give you a call to action, because now you're seeing a human. You know, you're already building trust with me subconsciously, especially because these businesses are intimate to the point where you might be entering somebody's home around their family, their children, their valuables. Simplicity is mental gold.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we are exploring digital marketing strategies for home service companies with Andy Walker, the CEO of Striker Digital. Welcome, Andy.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Super excited.
Andy, thanks for coming on. To start out, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us about your background in marketing?
Yeah. So this might sound crazy because I'm going to take you a little further back. I used to be a physical therapist, so I worked in healthcare, completely unrelated to marketing, right? But I was always entrepreneurial since I was a little kid. You know, like now that I'm like in this position, I like look back at myself and I'm like, yeah, you always had that type of factor about you. Like you were always going to do your own thing. But while I was a physical therapist, I had another internet business where we sold equity research to private investors and some institutional investors for stocks trading underneath $500 million market cap. Realized the business wasn't that scalable, or like we just weren't, it can be, but we just weren't the people to do it. So hung that up. Spent time learning how to code, started just building some websites for small businesses. They wanted SEO. I partnered with an old customer from Augury Research, Bodie, and he acquired a dumpster rental company. So I was like, you know, this is the perfect scenario. Bodie's business is case study number one for us. Acquired a business, no website, like literally just nothing at all. You know, no digital presence whatsoever. I think it was doing like $250,000 a year in revenue. Took it to like about $850,000 to $1 million, somewhere in that range. And then he just recently exited that. So that was really case study number one for us. That's like where what we call our home service SEO blueprint came about. You know, it's changed and molded over time. It keeps getting better. It will continue to get better, you know, as we do it longer. But that's really the basis of it. That's where it came from, because then his roofing customers and things like that, they needed a website. They wanted SEO. They wanted Google Ads. So it kind of snowballed from there.
Nice. It's always nice when you hear an organic growth story. So yeah, it seems like it happened quite naturally for you. Okay, so local services then. Let's dive into it. What would you say is the most important long-term lead gen for home service companies then, as a source of lead gen?
Yeah. So maybe I'm biased a little bit, but even if I was running my own home service business, it would be SEO. And no, I don't necessarily think SEO is the right investment. If you're a brand new business and you don't have cash coming through the door, SEO is probably not the right investment, because you're not just going to start an SEO campaign and next month your phone's going to be ringing off the hook. Like you have a brand new website, you know, like that's just not the reality whatsoever. So at that point, it's better to invest in ads, because the feedback loop closes really quickly, right? You know, you're paying to be in front of people, so you know you're going to get eyeballs and you're going to get conversions and things like that. So initially, you know, maybe Google ads or Facebook ads, depending on the industry you're in, are going to work best for you. But over the long term, SEO is it. Because this morning I was actually just drafting a tweet, because everybody, I don't want to say everybody, but majority of people that own these companies look at the investment in SEO backwards. They'll invest in the SEO for 6 months. They'll say, so what did I get out of this past 6 months? How many leads did I get during the 6 months? But what you don't realize is you invested for 6 months, and now you're going to be paid dividends in the form of leads for the next multiple years forward. So you're going to be collecting that investment for a long time forward. Instead, they're just focused on like, what did I get? I paid for 4 months. What did I get out of these 4 months, or something of that nature? But SEO is the best, because, you know, if Google ads costs are going to continue to increase, they already have. Like when we talk to our customers that have been running Google ads for a long period of time, their cost per lead used to be like, say, $5 or $6. Now it's $10, $12, and it continues to increase. And for a multitude of reasons, Google gets more expensive. It's getting more competitive because more people are now running Google ads, and it works as an auctioning process. Therefore, the price is going to increase there. But as soon as you turn off those ads, you don't have any lead flow, nothing, zero. You know, so if something happens in that nature where you can't do that, you're completely, this goes into a bigger topic of not being dependent on one lead source, which is why it's good to invest in all of this. But with SEO, you know, it's going to be a longer term investment up front. You're not going to see the return right away, but that investment's going to pay you for a very, very long time. And you, like when you're ranking, obviously there's a maintenance factor to it, and like depending on the level of competition, but you're going to have that business coming in for a very long time. You'll have to spend on ads every single month. So it's clearly, from that point of view, it's superior in that aspect.
That's a great point too about like the ROI comes later, especially if you're looking at it on a short fixed period. You're not going to do SEO for 3 to 6 months and start to see a lot of traction unless you're in a very low competition area. So yeah, it's a great way to look at it, that you do the work then, maybe you'll see a return on investment then, but it's a long-term play.
For like you just discussed then about businesses without any essence of a digital footprint. So making some form of investment online, it seems like the logical thing to do is put some budget into paid ads to get that instant ROI, but then also be investing in SEO alongside that for the future dividends to pay out. Good strategy.
Yep. Yeah. And one of the issues that I think people run into is when you're starting a brand new business, it depends on the market that you're competing in, but you see people, whether it's SEO or ads, and they're starting a business in Austin, Texas, which in my opinion is one of the most competitive markets in the United States. And they expect to be ranking immediately. And then if you're running, say, a roofing company and you can't spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month on ads, you're not going to be able to compete at all. So you need to find a different customer acquisition strategy. I mean, you'll compete, you'll get leads and things like that. But when it works as an auctioning process and someone's willing to spend $300 for that click, and your budget's only $5,000, that gives you 15 clicks you can get a month at that point, versus, these guys can afford hundreds of these.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so let's talk about what other strategies are there. Let's say you are that roofing company in Austin. You're a new company. You're not ready to spend a lot of money on SEO. I would assume your suggestion would be in less competitive areas. Start with the local service ads. But for that roofing company you mentioned, what's a good initial strategy to focus on where they could see results quickly?
From an SEO perspective?
Just from a marketing perspective.
Yeah. So I think a really untapped place is local Facebook groups, because it's completely free and it's highly targeted to the people in that community. I'm not in Florida joining an Austin-based, local community Facebook group. So you're going to have those people in there. And then the age of those people that are in there are typically people that are homeowners. So now you're able to get in front of them. But people post wrong in there. It's always an ask. People don't want to be sold to over and over again. Hormozy talks about this. He's like, you only have so many bullets you can fire, as in each bullet is an ask. And you can't ask every time or you burn out your audience. So, the correct way to go about it is you do run promotional offers and things like that, and they're exclusive to that community. If you call in the next 24 hours, you're going to receive a 20% discount when you say you found us in a Facebook group. That works. And it's completely free. You just need to use Canva, relatively cheap. And they have all the templates that you can use. But then the type of content you post to can't just be stock images and things like that. You need to be posting your actual team, your face, before and after transformations of whatever your service is, customer testimonials and things like that. Because what people don't realize, from an internet marketing perspective, nobody trusts internet marketers. So you need to find a way to build trust. So when you go on our website, you're going to see a video sales letter on there of me. And I'm going to introduce you who I am, our story, share you social proof of results that we've generated clients, talk about our process, give you a call to action, because now you're seeing a human. You're already building trust with me subconsciously. It's happening. You're not actively thinking about it, but we're forcing this to happen through the video sales letter. And when you're in Facebook groups, you can do that. Or on your own website for a home service business, you can do that too. Hey, I'm Andy. I'm the founder of Andy's Junk Removal, and I'm local to this community. This is our family-owned business. This is my brother, Mike, whatever, something of that nature. It's going to be way different than just going to the website that's just a brochure with stock images. Who are you going to have more trust and credibility and feel more comfortable reaching out to? Especially because these businesses are intimate to the point where you might be entering somebody's home around their family, their children, their valuables, so it's very helpful for them to see a face of who they're going to be working with.
I love that. I used to own a fish and chip shop in a town about 4 or 5 towns over from the town that I know. First thing I did when I took that business was join that local's town's Facebook group. And in there was a few people that were, I think there was a plumber in there. There was a junk removal guy, 2 or 3 people like that. And they just used to offer tons of value and advice in there. That's all they'd do. They'd just comment on other people's posts that were asking for information. And then you would see their name tagged anytime somebody said, oven's just blown up, need someone. You'd have 15 people tag that person and say, reach out to this guy. He's great. It's genius and it's free. So I suppose you have to speak to the admins of the group though, just to make sure everything you're posting is okay. aside from that, you good to go?
Yeah. There's specific groups. So I don't actively do this, but we have a manager on our team that she does Facebook groups for our clients. And there's specific groups. You just have to read the stipulations and the roles of those groups because they'll allow you to post a certain frequency or, don't ask too much, like I mentioned, or just specific types of content. Others don't allow any. So you just have to find that, and you can reach out to the admins and talk with them to make sure, hey, I want to do this. Is this going to be acceptable in your community? Yes or no? And then, move forward from there.
So I think this would be obvious to people who actively use Facebook. I'm not one of those people. I'm not a Facebook person. So
you're too young.
I would assume in the groups, really what you want to do is you just want to be part of the community. You want people to know who you are. You want to have a say in what's going on. Just be active, be a part of that community. And then they start to recognize who you are. The occasional ask helps that, people recognize that. But if they just know and they trust you in the group, then they're happy to recommend you. Is that kind of how you see that playing out?
Yeah, exactly that. Because this is another thing you have to be more long-term oriented on. You're building a brand. So when those other people, as Chris mentioned, then they're recommending other people, right? And they might not even have done work for them. They've just seen them so many times and now they're the go-to within the community. So you're building a brand. So your feedback loop isn't going to close fast. And for the reason that you might be posting about your services, but all those people in the group, they just might not need it right now. At this moment in time, they just might not have an issue that they need solved. But 12 months from now, if you stay consistent over that long period of time, they're going to run into some sort of issue within their home, whether, it's a plumbing fix, they need a new roof or things like that. And there's only going to be one person that they think of, is the person that they've seen in the Facebook group. And then, all of this works in conjunction. All of this works together. If you're running a business, you should do all of this. You should have multiple customer acquisition channels to have a steady lead flow. So what happens is, they know you, but they're probably the way to make an intelligent decision is you're going to shop around. You're going to go and look at other options as well. So if you're doing Google Ads and you're doing SEO, so they know you from the Facebook group, you already have trust. Then when they Google, you're at the top on the ad, you're in the map pack and your website's ranking. There's a certain form of trust and credibility that just happens from ranking on the top of Google. Because, all of what SEO is, we're building trust with Google that you're a real business, that you're someone that they can put on the top of their platform that they know is going to answer the phone, provide the service, and, provide a good service based off of your reviews, which, the frequency of reviews is very, very important for SEO, which is a whole nother topic. But really, in the end, SEO as a whole is just being a legitimate business that Google feels comfortable showing to the people that use their platform. Because if Google didn't have that on their platform, we would all use Bing or we would use something else that people want pay to advertise. So, they, on their end, if you look at it through their eyes, their lens, they're optimizing for a really good user experience. So, you're just trying to, play into what they want.
I liked when you said as well in the Facebook group, being the go-to guy. That actual group that I was in when I had my restaurant business in that other town, the first year we took over, there was a guy in there. I don't know how, but somehow he'd come across a job lot of Christmas trees around late November. And since then, many, 4, 5, 6 years later, he is now the Christmas tree guy and he cleans up every year. Okay. Yeah, it works. Right, let's move on to content then. So tell us about content for home service companies. What's a good strategy? How can they approach that? What should they be doing for their content to be having an impact on the leads that they generate?
Yeah, so from an on-page on the website or social media or both? Which one
on the website, yeah.
Into? Yeah, so what I was talking about earlier is something that I really recommend is having a video sales letter, because that's such an internet marketing thing. But I think when you apply internet, I don't just think, I know because I've seen it. I've told people to do this and they've done it and it's tended to work out rather well. When you apply those internet marketing principles to local businesses, there's that form of trust and credibility that's built. So it's having a video sales letter, or just not even it doesn't have to be just you talking to the camera completely. That will work, and that's the most simple way to do it. But if you have a little bit of cash, you can invest into having an actual videographer come in, show your team, show your trucks, show them doing a roof. And even better is if we're using a roofing company in this example, but as your guys are up on the roof, you're interviewing the homeowner, asking them about their experience. So this is a third-party signal. This is another form of social proof. And then when you have that, you can use that as a video on your website, but that testimonial video is going to pair really well in a Facebook ad campaign, because you're going to have multiple creatives that you're running. And one of them is going to be a testimonial from the customer with you and your nice shirt, the customer there, the team on the roof. But it's all just about being actually real, to be honest. It just, your before and after pictures, all of that type of content rather than just stock images, because in the end, those websites are just a brochure, which is fine. It works. I work with plenty of businesses that do just fine that way. But I think it can be better. And if you want to be that go-to person and have that brand, that's how you're going to do it. You're not going to do it through just stock images.
Well, let's talk about the blog for a second. So there's some spaces I think where it's very obvious that the blog would drive a lot of leads. Any, I think, industry where the customer has a lot of questions and they're specific to that location, that's going to be obvious. But let's take the roofer for an example. With that space, with other similar spaces where maybe there's less relevant questions for the area, how do you think about creating blog content? Is that a reliable source of leads, not factoring in the service pages?
Yeah, so blogs come down later in our roadmap. So what we do first is we'll build our internal team lingo is a broad stroke page. So we want to make sure as we're building content on the website, we're also providing a good user experience too, because that's also what Google's looking for. And we have the right internal linking structure. So when we submit it to Google Search Console, those pages will get found, they'll get indexed, they'll rank on the search engine. So we'll initially create, because a lot of people serve multiple counties, multiple cities, and you want to make it navigable. And so say we're working with 3 counties. So they have Palm Beach County, Miami-Dade County, and Broward County, right? They'll click into that and then they'll see all the locations listed in there that they service. And these pages are going to target the primary keyword that they're offering. So roof installation, for example, right? So it'll be roof installation Fort Lauderdale, roof installation Boca Raton, within these counties. And then we create location service pages with them. So every single service that they offer in every single one of those locations, we'll build content around. And the reason that we do this first prior to blogs is that we're hunting for the transactional search terms, the people that are going to be leads fastest. And the fact is the Google Biz Profile, different conversation, but on the website, if we don't tell Google that we provide these services in these areas, they don't know. You got to tell them, you got to feed the algorithm what it needs. And then I think blogs do work really well and they drive a lot of traffic. I would like to have better data on the attribution of 2 leads from blogs. But definitely when people are looking for high ticket services, we just keep using roofing as an example, there's obviously a lot of search volume for how much does a roof cost? Those type of questions, or what, different types of roof, metal roof, Spanish tile, all of the different types of roof. There's going to be a lot of questions around that. So you can build a whole content ecosystem based off of those frequently asked questions that I think will work really, really well. But initially for us, we focus on those location service pages first, and then secondary to that, the blogs. If you haven't got the data, then I assume it's difficult to then be able to say, blog content for high ticket home services like roofing is great and it converts X, Y, and Z percentage. I'm intrigued though, as someone who's very familiar with Google Ads, is it not a good strategy to have those people hit the website via informational blog content and have them pixeled for much more targeted ads? Yes. Yeah. So right now I'm actually working on this it's going to be a free document for everybody, but it talks about exactly what you mentioned. It's that. So the whole entire goal of internet marketing is it's one big funnel, right? So at the top, you have impressions. How many just people, this is more from a Google perspective, or it could be an ad perspective too, but just how many people see you on the search engine, right? If 100,000 people just see you on the search engine in a year, or the next year, 1 million people see you, as that number goes up, logically, there's going to be more traffic that comes to your website. And the more qualified traffic that comes to your website, the more leads and the more customers you get. So then if blog content is driving that traffic to the website, and for example, let's use Facebook ads, we have the pixel installed on the website. Now we can retarget them with our ads immediately. And you don't even need a big budget to just run a retargeting campaign on Facebook. But all of it works in conjunction together, because Google Ads is going to drive traffic to your site and Facebook's pixel is going to be able to get that data. SEO is going to drive traffic to your site, and then you can retarget them on those platforms. They'll click into your page. Then they're going to see you in that local community Facebook group. And then all of a sudden they're going to be like, I know these guys. I see them everywhere. They're everywhere. And that's exactly what you want to be. That's what we want to be for our own business. I don't want people to be able to go on any platform ever and not be able to see us, because that's just, how you win business. From an internet marketing perspective, Ty Lopez, everybody remembers his ad. I mean, if you're just in the space at all, everybody remembers his ad. It was everywhere. You couldn't get on YouTube without seeing his ad. And what did that result in? Pretty large success.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, so we've talked about several elements of SEO. We talked about the service pages, kind of the navigation. blog content. Now I want to ask about our favorite category, links. So how important do you think links are for local service companies?
Extremely important.
Thank you for being on the show.
Extremely important. I mean, like if you're doing SEO and you're not building links, then you're not really doing SEO, right? It's just like you have to do it. I mean, like, you know that mid-wit bell curve where it's like there's the dummy on one end, the really smart guy on the other, and in the middle, it's the person that's like, oh, I need this, I need everything to be perfect, you know? But the dummy on one end and the really smart person on one end, when it comes to SEO, is just like, I just need to build good content and build good backlinks. You know, like that's like literally what it comes down to is those. But one thing I see like with clients that we work with, everybody's so focused on the domain authority of links, which obviously like you really want high domain authority, but like you can find links that have like a DA60 that have almost no traffic now, and they have all outbound links from their website. So, you know, like I just answer these questions all the time with people. I'm like, yeah, like, so, you know, this is a little bit more complex than you might think. Like, yes, this one metric looks really good, but we also want a website that's going to be around and it's going to live and it's going to have traffic come to it. And it's not a link farm, just all outbound links. You know, we want links pointing to that as well. But overall, to answer your question, yeah, extremely, extremely important. And I've also seen people get burnt really, really bad, just like buying 1,000 backlinks. Yeah. From Fiverr or whatever.
That's never a good idea. And I think it's very true that everyone pays attention to the DR. I think the organic traffic is more important. Like if you have a low DR site and it gets a lot of organic traffic, that means Google likes it. So I think if you're going to look at one metric, I'd rather see the organic traffic. But the DR is what you report on. It's what everyone wants to know. But when you have high DR, high organic traffic, that's a sweet spot.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's a weird thing because my wife's a personal trainer, right? But she's not the personal trainer that's going to have you stand on like one Bosu ball and hold a 25-pound weight in one hand and a 10-pound weight in the other hand. It's like, you know, like literally SEO is the same thing as lifting weights and building muscle. It's you identify the needle moving movements for weight training. It's same for SEO. And then you just do them over and over again for a really long period of time and in weightlifting, you continue to progress your weight, progress your form, you know, perfect your quality of content and links in SEO. And magically, over a long enough period of time, it ends up working.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of actual link building strategies then for home service business, let's take the roofing client, for example. Obviously, we're all SEOs. We understand the importance of homepage authority building links and the power that inner page links can have for commercial pages. But how do you approach those two different sorts of links? What strategies are you using? I'm assuming it's all paid now, unless I'm mistaken. So just explain to me how you're handling that.
Yeah. So is the question more focused on, you know, what pages are we building the links to?
Yeah. Well, your holistic sort of link building strategy for, let's say, a new roofing client. Where are you going to start and how are you going to approach? Because I assume you're not building all links to one commercial page. You want to spread the links across the money making pages, but also homepage links as well. So I'm wondering if you have different strategies and how you approach it.
Yeah. So initially, like if we're talking a brand new website just built, we're just going to build links for like, depending on like what tier they're with us, the quantity of links that we're building per month, we're probably going to spend like 3 or 4 months just building links to the homepage. And then from that point on, we'll start building to those broad stroke pages where it's like that primary service that we want to win really bad in that location. If we want that page to rank, you know, we're going to push links to that page. So it's not overly complex. It's going to be, you know, building a lot of authority to the homepage. The primary page is going to rank the majority of places. And then those specific location pages target at the primary keywords we'll build links to. But we keep it really, my goal always, and like everything I do in life, is simplicity is mental gold. The more simple that you can keep the process. I think a lot of, like, it's easy to get caught up because I've been there too. And I'm assuming you guys have probably felt this too. But, you know, there's like a complexity bias in this industry of SEO where it's just like, you know, like, oh no, mine's better because I'm doing this and all that, you know, but that's that person in the middle of that bell curve. And then there's the two people on the other end that are getting great results and they're just like keeping it simple, doing the things that they know that works, you know?
I think we have the marketing influencers to thank for that. It's like people on X and LinkedIn, and the more complicated the strategy, the more likes they get. And then you get people looking at that and they're like, oh, I need that kind of strategy. And a lot of times the case study was for some like really complex site where they're doing programmatic SEO. And you're like, well, you're a local company. You don't need to do programmatic SEO. You need a handful of pages. You need, to build links and create some new content. So yeah, that's don't overcomplicate it for sure.
What are you doing specifically for those links then? Is it mainly guest posts, niche edits? Are you doing any sort of skyscraper, if that's even still a thing which people are doing?
Mainly guest posts. Been burnt in the past with some niche edits on just like test sites that we've ran with. So primarily guest posts at this point. But I'm interested to hear your guys' perspective too, because it would be great to hear.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if you guys had tried digital PR. It's a really good space for, I would say, most of the home service spaces. Sometimes you might have to get a little more, if they're a really niche down service, you might have to get a little broader. But overall, we find that journalists always like hearing from contractors, roofer, like anything in the home service space, because there's just a lot of publications specifically on home services or home renovations, that kind of thing. Even the big news publications, they're always coming out with stories on, this increases home value. Expert says don't do this. It'll destroy this part of your home. So we find it's a really good space.
Ex-celebrities just bought a 15-bed mansion for this amount of money, looking to hear from. It's always home experts, interior design experts. It's actually crazy good. And these guys have got the expertise already. And this is what it's about for digital PR now, about the expertise. And like you said at the very start of this podcast, having that sort of multi-touch point visibility so that the journalists can easily go, well, this guy is clearly a roofer. He's got this big video on his homepage. You can see him on Facebook. You can see all these likes, mentions there. That's what they want to see to be able to quote them. So yeah, as a homepage authority building strategy, we think digital PR is great and works really well for the space.
Yeah, matter of having the right connections. And it's something that's funny about backlinks. I had one of my employees staying with me about 2 weeks ago. We were talking about links, and it's kind of like it's kind of funny. It's like you're the drug dealers of the internet to an extent. It's like it's like this scarce thing that everybody wants and they need, and like there's only so many suppliers of it. And it's kind of like sometimes it feels like a black market deal when you're doing it. It's funny.
Especially since most strategies now are like against Google guidelines. So that's very true. It's like you're kind of trying to hide your source and where you get it from. And it is a bit shady like that.
Yeah. One thing I think about links too with like these local businesses, depending on the market that you're competing in. But obviously, like when you're competing in a suburban market, I think we can be honest that if you've audited the big corporate agencies' work, it's just like, well, they're not even building links. They're not even building content. They're pretty much just stealing people's money, to be honest. There's no set deliverable. Like, we're going to provide you this every single month. There's none of that. And they just kind of accept people's money month by month. So, a lot of people flock to those people because they don't know any better. They're branded really well. They seem like a go-to. We've just seen so many business owners be burned over time. But what I'm getting to is because there's not that many actual good agencies out there, it's relatively easy to rank in local areas where there's not like heavy competition. It's really just a matter of time. I feel like there's not that much guesswork in it anymore for us because we've been doing it for a while. It's just a matter of, for the client, you just kind of have to hold their hand and guide them because, they don't know anything. This whole world looks crazy to them. It's like this whole black hole that nobody understands. That's their concept to it. But you have to educate them. Just say here's where we're at, or here's where we were, here's where we're at, here's where we want to go. We just need this amount of time. And when you communicate like that with them, you can keep a client for longer, and then you can actually get the results that they're looking for. But yeah, that's a whole different agency to agency conversation. But I think it's also good for people to hear. Just you should probably just trust. As long as they're communicating with you, you should probably trust them because, you're going to get there. It's just going to take you some time, but, you're going to get to where you want to be.
Well, that made me think of an interesting question. So I did client SEO for a long time before moving into digital PR. And I would see a lot of clients who they'd have really irrelevant content for local service. And say, why did you create this? It was always, my old agency. And so a lot of these agencies, they promise we're going to create 5 blog posts per month. That's great for the first couple of months. 2 years later, you're on some random shit that makes no sense for that business. So my question, I guess, is let's say you're on a long-term relationship with the client. What do you do once you've kind of gone through all that, the content that makes sense? Obviously, you're going to keep going with the link building, but what do you do going forward once you've hit that to kind of make sure you're still pushing the client forward, I guess, and not just putting irrelevant things on the progress report?
Yeah. So with people that we've been with for a really long time and we're ranking exactly how we want, I'm pretty just honest with them. It's like, hey, I don't have a ton to do for you right now besides I'll continue to build you links because that's all I think you need right now. I don't really think that we need any more content, Bill. I mean, it's not going to be a bad thing, but like us not putting new content isn't going to harm you either. Because like you've been investing for 2 years in this market and we're dominating everywhere at this point. For somebody to come and catch you, that's going to be a really, it's going to be very hard to do. It's going to take a long amount of time. But I'm pretty honest with people to the point where, it's just, I don't think we need that much more content. We're just going to keep building new links. But as you expand geographically, and for us doing that strategy of like the location service pages and everything like that, that takes a long time to complete depending on like, the quantity of deliverables that they pay us for. Because if you service 3 counties and then you pick 5 locations that you want to really target down within those counties, and then you offer 6 services, that's going to end up being like hundreds and hundreds of pages of content before you even get to the blog content. So with a lot of our people, it's still on those transactional based, like location specific pages, the content that we're building. But I know that's not like a solid concrete answer. But
I think it varies client to client. Yeah. And that's a good point that if you've got different locations, you're going to be creating a lot of content. But I remember seeing some pretty irrelevant blog content that I just thought like I don't know who sat down and thought like this ties in to this client. That makes sense.
Maybe it's worse now as well with AI. They can throw out those blog posts easily with not much oversight, and it makes zero sense. I'm interested as we close out towards the end of this podcast. Andy, it's been great having you on. It seems like very much when we speak to like local SEO guys that sort of you've got to get the basics right. There's a few nice extra things you can do to give you a boost. I just interviewed Dennis Yu recently, who's a big like knowledge graph panel guy. And he was saying he sees so many people not doing this, and it's so vital. He talked about actually some really interesting results that he's seen lately with the LLMs making recommendations directly for local service businesses based on verifying your knowledge panel, which like takes 10 minutes. And then he publicly shamed me as well by Googling my name and said, you clearly haven't claimed your knowledge panel. There's like a Chris Pantelli in Cyprus that makes sewing machines. He said, come on, you've got to do it. And it's particularly important for local businesses, law firms, for people to do that. So I'm interested, are there any specific industries which you see from your client work side where you look at a project and you think, man, I want to actually invest in this company and I would take equity over like a monthly salary just because of the impact that you could make and where the competition is? Yeah.
The big one for me is, well, the first part is I'll talk about the industry, the business, but the big thing is the founder, because what you find out as you work with hundreds of people over the course of time is sometimes you start to get a sense of like, this person is a winner. Maybe they won't win on this business, but like this person's going to win. Maybe it's 10 years from now, but they're going to win. And those are the types of people that you want to bet on. But for me, it's roofing because the ticket size is so high that so if someone's paying say $2,000 a month for SEO, for roofing, and you land them 2 jobs, you paid for your SEO for the whole year. You land them 5, you land them 10 jobs. The return on investment is very, very clear versus, like a cleaning business or something like that is more difficult because they need such high volume, high quantity, which it can happen. We work with a lot of cleaning businesses, but it's just like more difficult to do to get that quantity because you also have to have an idea of like how, for a service like cleaning, for example, you need to have discretionary income. The average household in America is not paying for a cleaner to come to their house because it's just not within budget. So you need to be targeting people that have disposable income that can pay for that. But to answer your question, I really like roofing. I really like pest control too, because high margin, recurring revenue business. Commercially, you can lock into really long-term contracts. And I have a YouTube video coming out next week. That's my top 5 home service businesses. And I break down roofing, pest control, painting, plumbing, and HVAC. Obviously, like to most people, that's like, oh yeah, that sounds right. But like the reality is, it is it's obvious because it is real. That's the case. I'm
kind of surprised by painting, to be honest. The other ones make sense. Having paid for all of the other ones, I see where they make good money. But painting, I'm kind of surprised that would be in the list.
Why? I like it.
Would you paint yourself?
I just hadn't thought of it as like as expensive of a service, really.
Yeah, ticket sizes can be big. I mean, I think the average job size is probably like $3,000 to $5,000, and then the expenses, like, you know how much labor it's going to take, you know what the materials that you need to buy. So like forecasting out, you can see like, okay, so I'm spending $2,000 a month on marketing. I'm generating this amount of leads. What happens if I turn this up to 3,000 and add a new marketing stream? Now I'm getting 50 leads. And my average ticket is this, and I'm getting this many jobs. Where are my expenses at? Because the expenses can be so controlled of it, and if you have the labor to scale it, it can be pretty profitable, like 30-40% profit margins. From the best operators I've worked with, we're doing like $2 million in revenue and nailing like a 35% profit margin, I think. And they'll take my word specifically for every painting business, because I don't know it that extremely well. I just know like a few cases like this.
Okay, well that's a lot more than I would guess, so that's interesting. All right, Andy, I think that's a perfect place to wrap this up. So for people who want to learn more about you, where can we send them?
So on Twitter, I am at...
He's looking. Yeah. He hasn't learned his Twitter handle off by heart.
All right. So on Twitter, I'm at Andy_WLKER. And then on YouTube, which I'm pushing a lot of content out on there now. And even if you're an SEO, you're going to get a lot of value out of it too. It's not just for like our specific clients. That's Striker Digital. And then my partner on Twitter is at iRentDumpsters. He used to be Dumpster Rental Guy. A lot of people might have seen him on Twitter over the course of time, but that's the best place to find us.
Okay, awesome. Perfect.
Okay, Andy, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, thank you guys.